To my melanin family and spiritually conscious brothers and sisters around the world. I am Brother Tommy. And it is time to get it in. One Love Family. This video is going to discuss what is jurisdiction, common law, equity law, Admiralty and maritime laws. Family, it is important that we know what these laws are and how they apply. Jurisdiction. The Constitution of the United States mentions 3 areas of jurisdiction in which the courts may operate. Common law. Common law is based on God's law. Anytime someone is charged under the common law, there must be a damaged party. You are free under the common law to do anything you please, as long as you do not infringe on the life, liberty, or property of someone else. You have a right to make a fool of yourself provided you do not infringe on the life, liberty, or property of someone else. The common law does not allow for any government action which prevents a man from making a fool of himself. For instance, when you cross over the state lines in most states, you will see a sign which says, "Buckle your seat belts, it's the law." This cannot be common law, because who would you injure if you did not buckle up? Nobody. This would be compelled performance. But common law cannot compel performance. Any violation of common law is a criminal act, and is punishable. Equity law. Equity law is law which compels performance. It compels you to perform to the exact letter of any contract that you are under. So, if you have compelled performance, there must be a contract somewhere, and you are being compelled to perform under the obligation of the contract. Now this can only be a civil action, not criminal. In equity jurisdiction, you cannot be tried criminally, but you can be compelled to perform to the letter of a contract. If you then refuse to perform as directed by the court, you can be charged with contempt of court, which is a criminal action. Are our seatbelt laws equity laws? No, they are not, because you cannot be penalized or punished for not keeping to the letter of a contract. This is civil jurisdiction of compelled performance, which also has criminal penalties for not adhering to the letter of the contract, but this only applies to international contracts. Now we can see what jurisdiction the seatbelt laws, all traffic codes, etc., are under. Whenever there is a penalty for failure to perform, such as willful failure to file, that is Admiralty/maritime law, and there must be a valid international contract in force. However, the courts don't want to admit that they are operating under Admiralty/maritime jurisdictions, so they took the international law or law merchant and adopted it into our codes. That is what the Supreme Court decided in the Erie Railroad case, that the decisions will be based on commercial law or business law and that it will have criminal penalties associated with it. Since they were instructed not to call it Admiralty jurisdiction, they call it statutory jurisdiction. Courts of contract. You must ask how we got into this situation where we can be charged with failure to wear seatbelts and be fined for it. Isn't the judge sworn to uphold the Constitution? Yes, he is. But you must understand the Constitution, in Article I, Section 10, gives us the unlimited right to contract, as long as we do not infringe on the life, liberty or property of someone else. Contracts are enforceable, and the Constitution gives 2 jurisdictions where contracts can be enforced, equity or admiralty. But we find them being in statutory jurisdiction. This is the embarrassing part for the courts, but we can use this to box the judges into a corner in their own courts. We will cover this more later. Contracts must be voluntary. Under the common law, every contract must be entered into knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally by both parties, or it is void and enforceable. These are characteristic. It must be based on substance. For example, contracts used to read, "For $1 and other valuable considerations, I will paint your house," etc. That was a valid contract. The dollar was a genuine, silver dollar. Now, suppose you wrote a contract that said, "For $1 Federal Reserve note and other considerations, I will paint your house," and suppose, for example, I painted your house the wrong color. Could you go into a common law court and get justice? No, you could not. You see, a Federal Reserve note is a colorable $1, as it has no substance, and in a common law jurisdiction, that contract would be unenforceable. Colorable money, colorable courts. The word colorable means something that appears to be genuine, but is not. Maybe it looks like $1, and maybe it spends like $1, But if it is not redeemable for lawful money, silver or gold, it is colorable. If a Federal Reserve note is used in a contract, then the contract becomes a colorable contract. And colorable contracts must be enforced under a colorable jurisdiction. So by creating Federal Reserve notes, the government had to create a jurisdiction to cover the kinds of contracts which use them. We now have what is called statutory jurisdiction, which is not a genuine Admiralty jurisdiction. 1. Colorable, that which is in appearance only, and not in reality, what it purports to be, hence counterfeit, feigned have the appearance of truth. Black's Law Dictionary, 6th edition. It is colorable Admiralty jurisdiction that judges are enforcing because we are using colorable money. Colorable Admiralty is now known as statutory jurisdiction. Let's see how we got under this statutory jurisdiction. Uniform Commercial Code. The government set up a colorable law system to fit the colorable currency. It used to be called the law merchant or the law of redeemable instruments, because it dealt with paper which was redeemable in something of substance. But, once Federal Reserve notes had become unredeemable, there had to be a system of law which was completely colorable from start to finish. This system of law was codified as the Uniform Commercial Code, and has been adopted in every state. This is colorable law, and it is used in all the courts. I explained one of the keys earlier, which is that the country is bankrupt and we have no rights. If the master says jump, then the slave had better jump, because the master has the right to cut off his head. As slaves we have no rights. But the creditors/masters had to cover that up, so they created a system of law called the Uniform Commercial Code. This colorable jurisdiction under the Uniform Commercial Code is the next key to understanding what happened. Contract or agreement. One difference between common law and the Uniform Commercial Code is that in common law, contracts must be entered into, 1. Knowingly, 2. Voluntarily, and 3. Intentionally. Under the UCC, this is not so. First of all, contracts are unnecessary. Under this new law, agreements can be binding, and if you only exercise the benefits of an agreement, it is presumed or implied that you intend to meet the obligations associated with those benefits. If you accept a benefit offered by government, then you are obligated to follow, to the letter, each and every statute involved with that benefit. The method has been to get everyone exercising a benefit, and they don't even have to tell the people what the benefit is. Some people think it is the driver's license, the marriage license or the birth certificate, etc. I believe it is none of these. Compelled benefit. I believe the benefit being used is that we have been given the privilege of discharging debt with limited liability, instead of paying debt. When we pay a debt, we give substance for substance. If I buy a quart of milk with a silver dollar, that dollar bought the milk, and the milk bought the dollar, substance for substance. But if I use a Federal Reserve note to buy the milk, I have not paid for it. There is no substance in the Federal Reserve note. It is worthless paper given in exchange for something of substantive value. Congress offers us this benefit. Debt money, created by the federal United States, can be spent all over the United States of America. It will be legal tender for all debts, public and private, and the limited liability is that you cannot be sued for not paying your debt. So now they have said, we're going to help you out, and you can just discharge your debts instead of paying your debts. When we use this colorable money to discharge our debts, we cannot use a common law court. We can only use a colorable court. We are completely under the UCC, using non-redeemable negotiable instruments, and we are discharging debt rather than paying debt. Thanks for listening, family. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until the next video. Peace.